The Alnwick Garden is a community garden, a giant pleasure garden that cares about people. I remember coming into the Alnwick Garden and it was filled with row upon row of Christmas trees. You couldn't see the banks of earth on either side of the cascade. And there were old buildings, potting sheds, greenhouses. It was a dumping ground, piles of stone. It was wild, completely wild and overgrown. I had a very, very clear vision. It's actually almost 25 years since I began planning it. And I think one of the things that I can do just naturally is I understand what people like. I knew I needed a right-hand person who was going to buy into this and who had the skill set. You had to have a believer, and Ian was a believer. And he was with me every step of the way. We did 400 talks together. And Ian was absolutely key to the success of the project. Meeting at Zion was extraordinary because I kind of knew the Weerts were, Jacques Weerts in particular was the man I was looking for. His drawings were incredible, they were very professional. So he drew the Alnwick Garden and we built the Alnwick Garden and it looked like his drawings. That's pretty amazing. I faced, enormous criticism, and I couldn't understand it. Like, who does she think she is, and would you give your money to this woman? And I realised that people would have to come in when this garden was finished. You had to understand how this could impact on a community by seeing it for yourself.
Before I came here, before I even knew about Alnwick Garden, you'd hear people talking about Alnwick Garden. Folk would put it down, they'd have a pop at it and all that, just because where it is, who belongs to.
The problems that I've come across so far, particularly in the planning stage, was that people felt that I should be doing a restoration. At every stage of this project there have been huge hurdles, and I, in my naivety, kept thinking we had crossed the last hurdle, and then another one would come up in front of me, and I think, God, this just can't be happening, it can't get any worse.
Alnwick is indeed unique. You have an entire capability brown landscape. He is from that area. That makes it very special. We feel an enormous responsibility to try to do a good job. Design and engineering, it's all about nature. It's not just solid structure. It's also about this.
I knew that what I was going to do would work.
I think there's been a tremendous amount of thought put into the garden design, and when you look back through the records, the Weerts, Peter and Jacques Weert, are very much there setting out the garden as they saw it, how the Duchess envisaged as well.
What I would like to show is some of the language and the features in a style we have in this garden, which will come back in Alnwick. Between the pavilion and the bottom of the cascade, we try to find a way to divide the space, to spread the visitors in a subtle way, and we came up with this idea of these boulders that came rolling down from the hill along the cascade.
So the importance of the Weerts design was to give structures to the garden in the snow, so that in frost, snow, spring, summer's the easy time, autumn, it always had to look good. And because I was building from scratch, all those things were factored in.
Well, the machine is coming on for the first time onto the cascade today, and we'll be starting to excavate down below us.
Well, sometimes I think, I'm someone who enjoys building more than the finished product. I don't have my own Wellingtons, but I do have a pair of boots with a hard cap. But too clean to look professional, do you think? They're too big for me too. Ready to go. Mark Albines were great, and they were my friends. Everybody who worked for them at that stage, they were a family firm. So I think there's something for everyone, probably. You know, Ian and Aidan and I would sit together and come up with all sorts of different ideas and different ways of doing things.
There is a great concern at the end of the day that we will over-compact areas of the subsoil, and that in 10 or 15 years' time, trees aren't thriving as they should do.
Just as I was starting, foot and mouth was taking off. And the first time I came in to see this garden, I thought, what am I doing?
I don't know. I mean, there are days when I just feel very sort of strung up, and days and nights. I mean, the whole sponsorship side of this story has been my big battle, because it's been very, very difficult to get the message across to companies that this isn't about me, it isn't about the castle, it's about making this great sort of worldwide attraction, which is primarily for the people living in the northeast of England.
I think the biggest challenge of the build was building the cascade on sinking sand, you know, moving sand. Impossible. It was really, really difficult. None of us knew that this was going to happen. The sand was running sand. It was, you know, a nightmare.
We had a problem when we first started with water down the bottom of the cascade. We went down about a metre, we started hitting water, running sand.
This is the very first piece of reinforced concrete that we sat up on site as a trial to determine how we were going to create the stone effect on the reinforced concrete for the cascade.
Normal radiuses aren't a problem. We've got break points both ends where we have to turn back on itself, which is difficult. We haven't done it, and I don't suppose anybody else has done it. Certainly not on curves. Radiuses going up a hill with break points at each end. I don't know anybody's done that.
I'm the facilities maintenance manager for the Alnwick Garden. So my main role every day is to make sure that the garden, the cascade, the water features and everything else run to the best of their ability.
Are we on schedule in here?
Yeah, on the 1st of October, I think it's important that we're able to open up parts of the garden to the public.
I think it's been designed really well and futuristic, if you like.
All that blue sky, you can almost imagine summer for a moment.
They haven't ever pleached crab apples like this before, so it's not only a first in England, but I think it's probably a first in Europe from this big nursery anyway in Holland.
They're not worried about the bubbles that are coming to the surface, hitting the grid, the safety grid under the water?
No, not at all. They've done little tests to make sure that the bubble doesn't split.
It's important that the garden's full and that you have children running around these paths, and you know, a garden really comes to life, I think, if you can hear people talking and singing and being happy in it and working in it, and that's what it's all about.
To see a new garden of this scale being laid out.
Water feature up there will be very, very spectacular. Yep, we look forward to see it finished.
Oh, I want to come back and see it when it's finished.
I think the important thing is that we can think of a clever way of maybe having some of the water working in some of the areas. I think that's quite important.
Yes. To put him running from that chamber down the side of the cascade.
So here at the garden, we have very formal lines which are softened a lot by more of the herbaceous plantings up in the top garden.
Trying to saturate these trees because they're completely stressed.
This Duke's father won a horse race, and the winnings from that race, he purchased this lead sculpture with the fox on the top. It's been housed at Zion for some years, and now it was decided to bring it up to put it into the garden here.
We've just bought the last soft on the walkway, so you're able to walk right round the road, be outside the cascade.
We hope to be ready on time. There will be little bits and pieces that we'll still have to do, but I would imagine by 1st of October we'll be near enough ready.
People are taking an awful lot of interest in what they're doing. You can see the finished article turning up now.
To be actually working on something like this is, well, to me, it's brilliant, you know.
Today has been brilliant. It's been one of those special days where we reach a certain milestone, and to see the first arbour go up in place here is just terrific.
Well, I'd say my husband's view has maybe changed over the years. At the beginning, he was so busy, we were thrown into this situation, but he really had no idea what I was going to do.
He's a great northeast man, and he will be really pleased, and I think probably quite proud of me, if it turns out that it is a park for the northeast, and that it's raised the profile of the northeast, and that it's a very good local amenity.
This is my first visit for about 6 weeks. I think this part particularly is impressive because it looks as if it's been here for several years. But the cascade, everything is fantastic, really.
It's exactly as I wanted it to be. I think that you would think there was an animal living in here.
I'm not a great gardener. I thought I'd leave that till I grew up a bit.
They can take off their socks and shoes and run in the water here. You know, they can paddle in the garden.
There's an air of mystery, so you don't know how deep it is, where they're coming from.
Well, I mean, I'm thrilled, especially seeing the water. That's done it for me. But, you know, I'm still only halfway there.
I don't know, I'm very happy what I'm seeing now. Yes.
Very impressed myself. They did so much in a short time.
It'll involve 65,000 plants. There's a fantastic amount of tree planting, as you can see around us.
What I'm enjoying at the moment is seeing the old walls encompassing the new garden.
This is the kind of place I'd like to come to if I lived in Alnwick all the time. Just come and sit in the gardens, and I think I will.
I think it's absolutely exciting, and I personally am just thrilled to be part of it.
This is the first time we've seen the water in here as well.
Absolutely captivated with everything I've seen so far today.
I think the cascade, when it's finished and the water's running, will be really good.
This is just the beginning.
All right, I'll take that as a compliment.
The sun is shining, all the people are arriving, and that's what we're after.
None of us would be here today. He has made an enormous charitable donation which has enabled Phase 1 to be built and completed. I owe so much to Ian August, the garden project director, who believed the Alnwick Garden now has 10,000 friends and 80 volunteers.
It gives me enormous pleasure to declare open the first phase of the Alnwick Garden project.
The time has passed so quick. I think the garden, you know, it's matured. It looks far better than it did at the beginning. It was a strong design, and it was the right design. It must be the right design because it's worked. There are so many times I see things going on here and I think that was worth doing. I think the human element of the Alnwick Garden is the most important part of the garden. It's why the Alnwick Garden was built.
It's a unique place to come to. I can't really say any more. I love the treehouse. Yeah.
The important thing I say about the treehouse, as I looked around the swinging bridges, there was a busload of 70-year-olds swinging each other on the bridges and laughing and shrieking. I thought, well, it's the first time you do something in life. It's the best. You can never replicate that.
What I wanted to do was just take people out of their everyday environment. If you're going to build a treehouse, you should really go for it.
You need to get the right sort of people here to look after the garden.
Ian always said to me, we need a Friends of the Garden programme so people understand that this is not your garden, this is theirs. And I know that our volunteers view this as their garden, and so I would really thank them for really believing in this project and the amount of time they've given it. We couldn't have done this project without the volunteers. I hear, particularly from older people, how this has made an important difference to their lives. It doesn't matter whether you're 8 or 80.
It's for everybody, and everybody to get involved in.
Seeing them come in, and the first thing they do when the cascade's working in particular is wow.
The Alnwick Garden is really unique, and I see something that's unfinished.
Everything from the Grand Cascade back to the pavilion has yet got to be landscaped.
It's going to be very strange building without Ian there, because I promised him I would try and get it done in his lifetime. The massive project now is Lily Dory, a magical village which is home to 9 clans: goblins, fairies, pixies, elves, dwarves, hobgoblins.
With what's been planned before and done before, it'll be equally as successful.
The next generation of gardeners, it would be hard to see it. We didn't do it like that. We do it this way.
I'd like to see 200 older people tea dancing in the pavilion. I'd like to see the drop-in centre heaving with people having cups of tea and a piece of cake and chatting to their friends. I'd like to see children running around. And I'd like to see it finished. This is our garden.
This is our garden.
This is your garden.
This is your garden.